Believe it or not, I really did not plan on making a video about this today. I knew what today was. I remembered it like a ways into the day, and and I was like, oh, well, I remember what happened a year ago. I'm just gonna let it go past, whatever. Jack, stop it. And I and I've had the TV on all day, and like that's all anyone is talking about is what happened a year ago. And it really did start reminding me of some shit and reminding me of a year ago. And especially as a veteran, I want to talk about it now because that day was fucking crazy. But and I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and maybe it's just me, and maybe this is compounded of being a woman of color, a black woman, and a veteran who, on multiple levels, I've gotten used to the idea of my world ending and my life coming to an end. Like, so many times, it's just like, whatever. So when I saw what was happening, I was like, first of all, I thought this was a fucking joke. And I remember thinking it, and then I saw Chris Evans tweet it. He was like, imagine if all those people were black. And I was like, you said it, Cap, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, if that was us, because this is literally a terrorist attack. That's what it fucking was. It was a terrorist attack. And again, I'm going to go on a limb here and say that for me at least, because I'm used to, like, this was a very traumatic thing. It really, really fucking was. And it shook up a lot of Americans. But me as a black American, I was not surprised, really. After the initial shock, I was like, you know what? Sounds about right. And I went on with my day, kinda, just tuning in. But I was just like, yeah, this is, yeah, and like I said, maybe it's because every time I step outside, I'm worried that somebody is going to do something to me for whatever reason, and then if I'm around police, I'm even more, I'm even more nervous, and then just as a woman going out into the world and just being around men, I'm just like I'm nervous all the time. So I'm just like, which is really bad. I feel like that's really bad that anyone, whether it's a race or just me or just certain people, can be so desensitized to terrible things that when they happen, we're just like, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Not to deviate too much, but I remember the night that Trump got elected. I remember, and people were crying and wailing. And as I remember it was mostly white people, and black people were like, honestly, I'm not surprised. And then me, I didn't really give a fuck about what was happening with the election because my world was falling apart because I was dealing with this sexual harassment thing that you guys can watch the videos about on my channel on your own time. But I was dealing with that shit, which had some crazy racial stuff going on there too. So I didn't even give a fuck. I was like, I barely gave a fuck that Trump was elected president because I was like, whatever. My world was falling apart before he even got in, because that's life as a black American. What else? And then of course things got so much worse, like overall, because it was there. But it's really fucking scary. And there's a whole chunk of Americans out there that still think that what happened a year ago was okay. And I was not, and people, again, something that people were surprised about, but me being a black veteran, not surprised. Like the fact that there were so many veterans that stormed the Capitol. So many. One of the, like the woman that got shot, like climbing over a fucking fence, but the police told her to fucking stop, and she climbed over that fucking fence and got shot and died. She was an Air Force Academy grad. Like me. She went to my fucking school. I don't know what year or what class. I don't believe at the same time I did. But she went to my fucking school. The school where we were like, we swore an oath to protect the Constitution and to protect the American people and all this shit. and this fucking cunt, this motherfucking bitch is storming the Capitol. Storming the fucking Capitol. And I don't give a fuck about talking ill of the dead because you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. And she got a fucking stupid prize. Very stupid prize. And people were surprised, again, because they amped up security and National Guard security for Biden's inauguration. And they had to throw people out. Like, they had to cycle out members, active duty members, because those active duty members either had connections to the rioters, or not the rioters, the fucking terrorists, the attackers of January 6th, or alt-right, white supremacist, KKK groups. They had to weed them out and replace them like 1 or 2 times. And people are like, oh my God, in our military? And I'm like, yes, in our fucking military. Yeah, absolutely. I was in the Air Force in North Dakota. Alt-right and white supremacist groups all operated there so much, and it was like well-known. It was well-known knowledge that military members participated regularly. And it was always the most curious thing, because I was just terrified of saying anything on social media and getting pulled into the office, being like, why did you say this? But for some reason, when these groups like the KKK and all this comes up in like public affairs training or whatever, and like if someone displays that they're part of these groups or that they follow these groups on Facebook, the explaining away that not only public affairs do, but like the fucking attorneys, the lawyers, the JAGs do, the fucking explaining away they do for these fucking white people that are literally dangerous to everyone around them is insane. So no, it didn't fucking surprise me at all. And it doesn't surprise me that there are a whole bunch of people that still think that that shit was okay. And it's really not unlike, again, being a black person, walking around, seeing white people, and knowing that a big chunk of those people look at you and still see an animal. Knowing that. And some of y'all white allies be ratting out your people and being like, and coming back and bringing intel to us and being like, this is what they say behind your back. Like, this is what they say when they're only white people, or when they think that they're only white people around. This is what they really say. This is what they really fucking mean. Like, I think some guy wrote a whole book. Some guy wrote a whole book on just shit that, the wild shit that white people say when they think that there are only white people around. So maybe now some of you guys have some idea of how the other half lives. That anxiety. That anxiety of knowing that you can throw a rock when you're walking down the street, and it's very likely that you might hit somebody that thinks it's completely okay to commit acts of terrorism. For the sake, by the way, of one man, by the way. For one man. Who they follow like a fucking religion. And I always side. I love when, like, I do content like this and I talk about how fucking stupid Trump's following is. And then the Trumpers that follow me come out of the woodwork and they're like, oh, I was with you until you said that Trump was this or that we're stupid or whatever. I still like your other stuff, though. Like, I know we have different political ideals and beliefs, but I still like your other stuff, though, so I'll follow you. It's giving shut up and dribble. It's giving very much entertain me, Negro, and don't speak. It's giving very much like just sit there and be something exotic and pretty and entertaining for me to consume, but God forbid you have things to say about things that super duper matter. And the fact that you will still fucking follow me, even though you supposedly disagree with everything that I stand for, shows that you really have no fucking conviction and you're a fucking idiot. Because people that I don't fucking I don't condone, I don't follow them, I don't consume their shit. Or very rarely. And if I do, it's to be like, what the fuck? But I don't consume their shit. So you must have really no fucking conviction. You're probably just doing it because you're probably just following it because your parents do, because your friends do, because what other white people do. You have no fucking conviction. It's sad. Very sad. So, um, yeah, the fact that all this happened a year ago because of one man, and the fact that there's still a question of whether this guy was dangerous. While he stood there in Hitler-like fashion, encouraging this, and then the same, like, and then following up on Twitter. Um, so I guess what I'm trying to say, if I'm trying to say anything at all, is be vigilant. Be vigilant. I think that white America is just now starting to experience the phenomenon of division, the phenomenon of, like I said, walking down the street and knowing that it's very likely that the person that you just passed thinks that very dangerous things are completely okay. We've had to do this for centuries. We've had to do this for forever. Like, yeah, man, and it was crazy. Like this, my former superintendent of the Air Force Academy, I think, like refused to condone the attacks, like refused. Like this is a man that was in charge of an entire academy of Air Force cadets, the future leaders of what some would say is the most elite military branch. Questionable. Um, it's definitely the widest. But yeah, this is nothing new, guys. This is nothing new. These people have always been like this. There have always been people like this. It's just that some of you guys are just now finding out. The people that say America is more divided than ever obviously are not black. Because segregation sure wasn't a kumbaya. We know when you say that, you really mean division amongst white people. Whether you are aware of the fact that you're saying that or not, like, we know what you mean. But now you know. Maybe now you have a snapshot of just how fragile this entire thing is. And just how fucking crazy your neighbors and fellow man can be or are. And you need to be careful. And just don't have the wool pulled over your eyes that institutions like the military and shit are exempt from this sort of influence. Because that's probably the detail that surprised me the least. Because the things that I had to hear in active duty while Trump was president, in my office by people that I outranked, were terrifying. Let's do our best to not let this happen again. How about that? Let's do our best to not let that happen again. I'm not confident that it won't. But now you're aware of the risks, I think. And for those Trump supporters out there, I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, you are stupid.